The designer of fine furniture today is usually governed by the desires of his customer. This man, for example, is preparing to submit drawings for dining room furniture. From photographs of original pieces, he prepares drawings with whatever alterations the customer wishes. After these are approved, he makes drawings at full size from which the furniture craftsman will work. His first step is to transfer the form of each piece from paper to patterns of thin wood. He transfers the shapes exactly by using a fine punch at intervals of about 1 inch along the edges of each part. He completes the form of the patterns by connecting the punch marks with pencil lines. Such a set of patterns made on thin wood will be much more durable in the shop than paper drawings would be. Skillfully and quickly, the craftsman cuts out his wooden patterns with a bandsaw. He uses modern machines only when these save time without impairing quality. Long experience enables him to combine speed with accuracy. With all patterns completed, he first selects a rough plank of seasoned mahogany, sawed to the proper length for the back pieces of the chairs. This machine, the jointer, gives him one perfectly flat surface. The opposite side is leveled to proper thickness in the surface planer. The success of his subsequent work depends upon the accuracy of this beginning. Having dressed the wood, our craftsman traces upon it repeated patterns for the back legs of the chairs. Only the finest wood is used, and so patterns are placed carefully to eliminate waste in cutting. Stock for the legs is 2 inches thick. That for the splat and cross pieces of the back is only 1 inch thick. Again, he saves time by using the bandsaw. At every stage, the craftsman demonstrates the skill which is acquired only through long experience. Bending wood to make curved forms is not good practice, for the grain tends to straighten again and throw the chair out of shape. Curved parts, therefore, such as this top piece for the back, are laid out and sawed to the exact shape required. When all parts have been cut out according to their patterns, the craftsman is ready to join them together. In chair construction, there are 2 methods of joinery. The one to be used here is the mortise and tenon joint. Having laid out the dimensions of the mortise precisely, and having bored out most of the wood, he uses chisels to shape the mortise to exact dimensions. With equal accuracy, he saws the tenon on the companion piece. Then, before gluing, he makes sure the joints are true and that they fit snugly. Meanwhile, another craftsman is making parts for the dining table. Here he fastens a rough square block to the lathe to turn out one of the table pedestals. After the first attack, which takes off the square corners and makes the piece round, he brings it down more quickly to the desired outside diameter. Now, with special gouges and chisels suited to special kinds of cutting, he turns the forms to the refinements called for in the drawing. The chair design calls for molded front legs, so a shaped cutter is placed in the arbor, which spins at high speed. Here again, a cleverly designed machine does the necessary work quickly and with precision. Much more time would be required to do this by hand chiseling. With glue hot and wood warmed, the craftsman joins together parts of a chair back. Accurately made joints, fresh hot glue, and firm clamping of the parts together under pressure are necessary in making a good joint. After the glued joints have set, the craftsman assembles the splats of the chair back piece by piece. Tenons cut in the ends of the splats fit into mortises cut in the horizontal members of the back. He checks each joint to make sure that it is neither too tight nor too loose. After these parts have been glued and allowed to dry, the entire back of the chair goes to the wood carver. The wood carver, like most furniture craftsmen, has served long apprenticeship under other masters of this art. After roughing out the work, the carver makes accurate gouges without the slightest waste motion as he develops each part of the design. For the broad petals of the roses, he uses a delicate shallow gouge. The professional carver has dozens of tools which make for clean cuts and an effective mastery in the carving. With this flat chisel, he cuts the lower areas which give relief to the carved design. The machine carving, sometimes seen in factory-made furniture, lacks the nuances of the wood carver's art. When this specialist is finished, the chair back goes again to the original craftsman for a first sandpapering, a treatment that gives plain surfaces a polished smoothness and blends the marks of the wood carver's tools into a pleasing subtlety. Now he joins the front and side rails of the chair seat to the finished back. Another type of joint, two dowels embedded in the one piece, glued and joined into corresponding holes in the companion piece. Quick work is necessary here, for the craftsman must glue and clamp all joints while glue is hot and wood is warm. This band about the back has shoulders which permit clamping rounded parts without distorting the shape of the chair. When the glued joints have set, the entire set of chairs stands ready for the important contributions of finisher and upholsterer. Meanwhile, the tripod bases and braced top for the dining table have been completed by another craftsman who is now assembling them. Some parts have been glued, while screws fasten the bases of the tabletop. A richly designed pier table is also part of the furnishings. This craftsman is making drawers which require a third important kind of joint, the dovetail, used for all good drawer construction. Following penciled measurements, the craftsman demonstrates the use of the straight chisel as he removes surplus wood from one end of a drawer front. The half-wedge shape of these joints gives them the name of dovetail. Now, corresponding cuts are made on the sides of the drawer, the craftsman working with sure strokes of his cabinet maker's saw. After surplus wood has been removed by chiseling, front and side are brought solidly together by this tight-fitting dovetail joint. If this has been properly done, clamps are not needed here, and the drawer can be left to dry after it has been slipped in place for trial. The drawers in finely made furniture always work smoothly. The antique finishing of chairs is an elaborate and painstaking process. First, aging and mahogany stains have been applied and dried. The chair is then given a thin coat of shellac. When this is dried, it is lightly sandpapered to remove any raised grain or other irregularity, then additional coats of thin shellac and light sandpapering, then a glazing oil stain to build up highlights and shadows. The sharp contrasts here will be toned down later. Now, overnight drying, then more shellac, fine sandpaper, shellac again, and even finer sandpaper. After this, the final thin coating of shellac is put on with a rag, so that it goes more surely into the tiny pores than if applied with a brush. The finisher of fine furniture seems to have an endless job, but each step is essential to obtaining the enduring, attractive result. Sandpaper and now steel wool make for a smooth surface. Finally, a brush with powdered pumice and oil for low places, gentle rubbing with a soft cloth, and the intriguing antique finish is 8 applications with drying between makes the finish on the tabletop. The completed furniture combines the virtues of illustrious ancestry, the skilled craftsmanship of design.